Maisa. So what was the story with the Kishka? Erwin, you remember the story of the Kishka? The story was that she came and she saved the day. She took the Kishka and she put it into the cholent, straight from the fridge, assuming the Kishka was this bashal. She bought Kishka, they bought in the store Kishka, it was already previously cooked. Ein bishal achar bishal b'davar yavish. And she took the Kishka and put it into the cholent pot. She went straight into the cholent pot. There's a blech on the cholent pot because, she would have known that. She knows there's a blech on the cholent pot. Okay. But Akupanim, so we saw yesterday, but that's his mamish in the scene of the chatchila, straight from the fridge. You don't have the ran, you don't have oidev yada, you don't have anything over here, no taitai lachser. This is a straight case. Elamai, she wasn't over on bishul. If she would have been over on bishul, it could be b'diavad, we could be makel. Because bishul b'shoigeg, we have the gra. But over here, she wasn't over on bishul. What was she over on chazara? Once you're over on chazara, does his checkmate. Does the Gemara in Shabbos, Daf Lamed Ches, Gemara is a suffix. What's it din when it comes to chazara? Even though normally by the Rabbanans and Ma'aser Shabbos we're makel, but by chazara we're more machmir. So here, this kishka is forbidden for her and for her family, and therefore there's nothing you could do about the kishka. But that wasn't the shaila. The shaila is, did she now treif up the cholent? Because now that this kishka is already, it's stomach yafaloi, and this kishka became from kol to hat and whatever. So the blias, just like if you take a piece of chazer and you put it inside the cholent pot, and now the whole entire cholent is treif. So beside the blias of this kishka have now infected the rest of the cholent and have caused this cholent to be a non-kosher cholent. How do I know that blias in Ma'aser Shabbos is a mandamar? Maybe blias is only a concept in kashrus. How do I know that blias is a concept bichlal in Ma'aser Shabbos? Blias we found in Yeridea. We found that if a person takes a piece of chazer or even drabanantika orla or something and puts it into another pot or whatever, so then the blias aser the food. But maybe that's only when you have an isser of a kashrustic isser or something like that. Yeridea, chometz, these types of things. Who said? Just a moment, sorry. Who says that there's an isser of blias when it comes to a Ma'aser Shabbos? Sorry. So he said it's only a knas. Maybe they didn't make a knas on blias. Who says they made a knas on blias? So that's the Maisa, what I mentioned yesterday from the Prima Gadim. Mishabura brings this Prima Gadim. Mishabura is in Simon Shin Yud Ches Shartzi and Kuf Mem Gimel. Shartzi and Kuf Mem Gimel. And the truth is, you don't have to go so far because the Poskim all discuss the gabe, the pot itself, and the Poskim all say that the pot itself has blias and that the pot's not kosher. But if you want, Mishabura over here. Shin Yitches Shartzi and Sim Cotton Kuf Mem Gimel. Where is she? Kuf Mem Beis. Vim Tachal Atzli Koidim Shenichoi Bekli. Sorry, this is the Raya Klape Bittel B'Shishim. Excuse me. The Gabi the Raya of Blias in general. The Gabi the Raya of Blias. So that we say from the Rashba. Shabur brings in the beginning of the Sim in Shin Yitches that if you have a pot, so then the pot accepts the Blias, and the pot is treif now. The actual pot is treif. They'll shaila if it's cheres and whatever. So you see that bli is in the Ma'aser Shabbos aser too. I asked yesterday, but maybe if you have bittul beroiv, so then maybe in regular kashrus you need bittul b'shishim. But we know there's a concept of bittul beroiv. That's what you need the shartzim for. Sorry, I said the wrong market. Over here the shartzim Kufman Bey says vim toch imatzli koidim shenicha bekli b'shum. Oyser b'kachesh ad netila v'imtach b'shemen oyser ad shishim prima godim ayin sham So over here you see mamish mefurish l'chayra. This kishka is treif, and therefore the kishka it's treif with Ma'aser Shabbos tarfus, and now it has aser the cholent unless you have 60 times the cholent klape the kishka. What kind of kishka is that? Nussi, you ever hear of such a thing in your life? A cholent that has 60 times the amount of cholent to a kishka? In stomach, there's no such thing. So that's his l'chay. So come to chayis, the kishka is treif, the cholent is treif, and it's really going to be the end of the marriage, Rabbi say. It's going to be mamish the end of the marriage. The pot is treif. It's mamish, it's the end. It's the end, and he's not going to have his cholent. Stama. That's the Gemara at the end of Gittin. What does the Gemara at the end of Gittin says? Wants to know what's good for reason why you should get divorced. So Gemara says because she burns your food. It says in the end of the Gemara Gittin over there that if she burns your food, that's reasons for divorce. Well, kal v'chomer, she doesn't just burn your food. She treifs up your food. That's what mali if you burn it from the fire, mali if you burn it from the kishka. So maybe you'll say over there she was bemazed. Maybe you'll say over there that she was bemazed, right? So they want a medayik. It says that she burns kederasai, the medayik in the Gemara. She burns his kedera, hers, she says, oh, sorry, your portion burnt. Your portion. Okay, but that's a pshatel. And the pashim pshat is, of course, you can divorce her if she burns your food. Right? So she, and that's a regular, it doesn't say anything over there about cholent. Shabbos and cholent, to not have cholent? What's the shayla? It's not even by the goyim, it's grounds for divorce. So is there any way we can save this marriage? Because the Gemara at the end of the Gittin says that the Mizbeach cries for a get, right? So who would want to be a part of such a get? Where the Mizbeach is going to cry. So what do you say? Want to save the day? Sorry? Mesilas Chatzkila has the same issue. Sorry? No, Ma'aser Shabbos, yeah. The Yisur Chazara. The Yisur Chazara. It says in the first, in the Mishnah Berurah. It says, what? Okay, she put it into the crock pot. That doesn't matter here. It doesn't matter. It's still Mesilas Chatzkila. How would that help us? It doesn't make a difference at all. Rabbi said, it won't make any difference at all. She takes the kishka, puts it into the cholent, and then from the cholent puts it onto the fire. So no difference. No difference. No difference. No difference. You're not saving this marriage. You're making it worse. What? It was wrapped, but so what? So what? He means maybe maybe there's no blias because it's wrapped in silver foil. Maybe that's why there's no blias. Okay, but then why would you put it's not in general? Why do people put? Okay, we'll have to talk about when we learn Hatmana. Rabbi Singer is very nervous. We're not going to learn Hatmana. We have 8 working days to talk about Hatmana, what he's so nervous about. But Kamira, there is a transfer of taste. There's a transfer of taste. So. Okay, but who knows? Who knows the answer to that? Who knows? But we're trying to save the marriage of it. No. So I it's like this. There's a ksav soifer. When you need to save the marriage, you have to go to the big boys, the soifer family. Right? The ksav soifer. The ksav soifer in the very famous tshuva. You should all take the time to read this tshuva. It's a very famous tshuva in general. It's the 50th tshuva. The ksav soifer over there has a case about there was a restaurant that was open on Shabbos. Interesting. In those days, you can have a restaurant open on Shabbos, but the food is kosher. So what was the problem? Me and you, we would think, you can imagine, could you eat in a restaurant of Mechalei Shabbosis and whatever? So I guess the Ksav Soifer's Hechsher, I'm not being Ram as anything, but maybe the Ksav Soifer's Hechsher is a little bit more liberal. It's a little bit more liberal. So the Ksav Soifer's Hechsher, he said, no, we have a bigger problem here. The food is kosher. No, the food is kosher. But what's the issue over here? The issue is there's blias in the kalim because it's open on Shabbos. This is a restaurant on Shabbos and they serve they cook on Shabbos. Obviously the food that they cook on Shabbos is treif because it's a Ma'aser Shabbos. But now they serve with those plates, and now you want to, they make cholent on Shabbos for Shteitzacher. And they take the cholent and they put it into the kalim, and there's nicht gehat in die Zeit, nicht gewenken chad pami kalim, disposable kalim, nicht gewenken chad pami. So now it comes on Sunday, and he wants to have, not the leftovers, chas v'chalil. You're not allowed to have the leftovers, but he wants, even that's a whole shot. You can even have the leftovers because they weren't made for you, okay? But Kapani wants to know, what about the kalim? So the Ksav Sofer, and Rabbi said, this is like for the Ksav Sofer, a major Shastat. You got to have a restaurant. You see today, people without restaurants, they're mamish going b'shuga. No restaurants, and that's like mamish the phase 1. You got to get the restaurants back. So the Ksav Sofer over here, he saves the day. The Ksav Sofer says that, first of all, that which I told you, that the Rashba asers the blias in the kalim, and that you see Ma'aser Shabbos asers blias. He says you should know this is the Rashba l'shitasa. You're about to hear wonderful things, everybody. This is the Rashba l'shitasa. Why is it the Rashba l'shitasa? Because the Rashba in Bishul Akum also holds like that. We know that there's an issur called Bishul Akum, and if the guy cooks the meat, so the meat is obviously treif. Mitzad Bishul Akum, and now the guy cooked his egg. Let's say the guy cooks up an egg for himself. No harm. He's not doing it for you. Says the Rashba, there's a lot of harm because he cooked up the egg. The egg is now treif. Okay, who cares? The guy's gonna eat it. Yeah, but he used your frying pan. So now the blias of his treif egg went into your frying pan, and the frying pan is not kosher. Thus is shita of the Rashba. Why do I tell you that's a shita of the Rashba? Because the Ra'ah is cholik. Ra argues on the Rashba. It's this old fights between Rashba Ra, the Bedek Abayis, and the big fights over there. The Ra says, what are you talking about? The whole Isser of Bishul Akum is not an Isser in the Chefza. It's not a real Isser, we'll call it. I don't mean Chalila, not a real Isser, but it's not an Isser that the Chefza is Isser. It's like Chazal said, you can't eat this, like a din in the Gavra if you want fancy titles, okay? So besides, the Ra Zog, so they never Assered the Kalim. It's not the pshat like I keep calling it treif. And the blias come out and they treif up the pan. No, Chazal said, don't eat the egg that the guy cooked. Okay? But they didn't make an Isser blias Machlekes, Rashba, and the Ra'ah. So he says this is the same exact machlekes. The Rashba, the Shitasai, the Ra'ah, the Shitasai. The Rashba holds that Ma'aser Shabbos is not an Isser, the Ma'aser Shabbos is an Isser Chefza, just like by Bishul Akum. And now the bliyas that come out of the Ma'aser Shabbos are going to also aser the Keli. And the Ra'ah, the Shitasai is going to argue. The Ra'ah is going to tell you that Ma'aser Shabbos is not a real Isser, it's a Knas. Chazal said, don't eat this. And that'll be a shter to make it that you don't go and cook on Shabbos and make mistakes on Shabbos, whatever it is. But Akapanim, they didn't answer the chefza, that it should have a concept of blias. As a mela zok the Heilige Ksav Sefer, that first of all, this idea, does Ma'aser Shabbos have blias, you should know, is a machlekes Rashba and the Ra'ah. And you know what? Even if we're machmer like the Rashba, when it comes to Bishul Akum, that's because das is an Isser L'Kulei Alma zok the Ksav Sefer. No, you have an Issa there by Bishul Akum. There, where's Bishul Akum brought? It's brought in Hilchas Treifus, it's brought in Yeridei over there, and those in Yonim over there. Where there, the pshat is, you can hear Chazal made an Isser on the Chefza, so therefore it has blias, because that's an Isser L'Kulei Alma. If the guy makes that egg is cut tray for everybody. He's not a Jew in this planet that can eat it. So then you can hear more the Rashba says the Ksav Sofer as he chooses it between these two great mountains. It says, when it comes to the Ra'ah, when it comes to the sugya of Ma'aser Shabbos, no, how could you say such a thing as a Ma'aser Shabbos is an Isser Chefza? When you're allowed to eat it and I'm not allowed to eat it, you could say that's a Ma'aser Shabbos. Excuse me, you could say that's a Chefza, Isser Dika Chefza. You could hear over there in that case, Chazal said you can't eat it, but that it should answer the Belias in the pot, that's already extreme. And the Ksav Sefer says, I don't agree that the Pesach should be like the Rashba, at least when it comes to Ma'aser Shabbos. That's number one, says the Ksav Sefer, and therefore I believe, says the Ksav Sefer, that the blias inside the pot, inside the kalim, should be permitted. That says the Ksav Sefer, b'shem the Ra'ah. Then the Ksav Sefer was, this is the Loika Mishnah Berurah. This is the Loika Mishnah Berurah. I told you we have to get the heavyweights over here. The Ksav Sefer was very beloved by the Mishnah Berurah. He brings him down in Simin Tavkuf Yudalid. He brings him down in other places, the Yartzak and other places. He liked the Ksav Sefer a lot. Okay, back upon him. But this is number one. Then the Ksav Sefer goes on and he says, okay, I know you're not going to suffice with that. You're going to say, no, Rashba, over here the Paiskim all bring the Rashba, the Pri Megadim brings the Rashba over here, all the Paiskim, Mishabura, like you see. Okay, he didn't have a Mishabura here. He was older than the Mishabura, but upon him, he still didn't, he didn't concur with this. He didn't suffice with this. Then he says, oh, but what about the second thing? The Pri Megadim came along and said, over here, we don't say bittul b'roiv, and it has to be bittul b'shishim. Now, don't forget, if I have a chalent, usually the chalent is going to mevatel the kishka b'roiv. Is that a correct statement, Rabbi Samuels? I think so. Most of the time. So now, if I could just knock out the kishka by saying that the chalent is mevatel her b'roiv, so then we're in business. But the Pri Megadim said you need shishim, like I just showed you, was? Derkal, yeah. Like I just showed you, that the Taka the Pri Megadim says you need shishim on this, okay? So the Ksav Sefer says, I don't agree. I don't agree. He says, what's the makor not to agree to such a thing? So this is a little bit tricky. What is the makor to not agree to such a thing? So he says, one second, he wants to say this is also a machlekes. No, it's basically it's tali somewhat in Bishul Akum also. Okay, in Bishul Akum there's a machlekes if you need shishim also. You know that Rabbi say it's a machlekes by Bishul Akum if you need shishim. And some hold you need shishim. We maybe are machmir like that, and some hold that you need taka only roiv. So he says, look, Nachamol, even if by Bishul Akum I'm going to be machmir, but I'm not going to be machmir when it comes to Ma'aser Shabbos. And therefore, it's the same type of a cheshbon. He says, over here, by Ma'aser Shabbos, I have two reasons to say that the kalim are kosher. Number one is it's batal b'roiv. And number two is that bliyas aren't going to aser. No, so when you go to the kishka, in the case of here, it's the exact same thing. Number one is the only question is bliyas from the kishka. And number two, it's batal b'roiv. It's batal b'roiv. But does anybody feel comfortable? Sorry? The time is batal b'roiv. The kishka is batal b'roiv. Of course. The only thing here is tam. Obviously, if you have roiv means that you have challenge connected, and you don't need to be mevatel the tam. No, but you don't feel so comfortable with that. No, it's like it's not the Mishabura, it's not the Paiskim. When I say the Mishabura is not causing trouble here. He's quoting all of the predecessors. He's quoting the Pri Megadim, the Magen Avraham, all the Chevra. So the Ksav Sefer is saying a chiddush over here. There's a chiddush over here. No, is that enough to matter this challenge, right? So there's a Pri Megadim in the Eshel Avram in Sivkot and Lamed Tes. He brings down an aguda. It's a very difficult sugya. Over there, the aguda is discussing, it's a Magen Avram. He's discussing a piece of meat that was returned to a fire. It's a little bit of a case over there. A piece of meat that was returned, and there's a soup, there's a gravy there, and there's the meat also. There's the meat. The Pri Megadim brings this Magen Avram, and to make a long story short, the Magen Avram seems to say that the case over there, it's a little complicated, so you'll see it inside, but I'm just giving you the ability to see it inside. The Magen Avram says that the meat is kosher, says, but the liquid is not. That's what it says over there. And the Pri Megadim is very troubled. Like, what is this? How come the meat is kosher and the liquid is not? He doesn't. He's very bothered by this aguda. So he says, I understand that you're telling me that since it's a davar yavish, and therefore I will say ein bishul achar bishul and things like that. He says, but why don't we say the blias of the marok of the liquid that asered now go into the meat? Why don't we say that? And again, the case itself, go and look in the Magen Avram. It's a complicated case. I just want what the Pri Megadim says. So Pri Megadim says, I'll tell you why. Because you're not nene kol kach from the liquid. What do you care? You care so much. You have that little drop. Basically, let me explain this Pri Megadim. You ain't a nene kol kach. I saw the Machzeliyo. He brings this Pri Megadim. He's very bothered. Half the simon is your ain't a nene kol kach. You have salt, and you make salt, and you cook something in salt. You do Ma'aseh Shabbos with salt. You're also ain't a nene kol kach. And in other cases, so the pshat is very simple. The pshat is that when I try to put in salt, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add taste. You're not going to say ain't a nene kol kach. That's what you did. Right? So if it's Isser, whatever you did, then it's going to be awesome. Here, when I'm heating up this piece of meat and the marok and the sauce and the juice, whatever it is, so I don't care about the time of the marok. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in the marok by itself. I'm interested in the meat by itself. I'm interested in the time of the marok. So the Pri Megadim says, that's ein nene kol kach. It's time it happens to get blias, but you don't care about those blias. You don't care. Those are blias that you're not interested in. So he says, the Pri Megadim says over here that when you're ein nene kol kach, you don't care about those blias. So then there's a side of a kula. Now, the same thing you could probably say, is it true by the kishka? Do I want the blias of the kishka to the cholent? To the cholent? No, I think it's the other way around. I don't think people think about it. Again, it could be you're right that there are. We're not saying there's not. But most people, they're not thinking that I want the kishka's taste to go to the cholent. I don't think there's anybody thinking like that. Is anybody? And if you think about that today, it's like the first time. I mean, most people aren't thinking that. So therefore, you're not caring about those blias. So this plus the blias of the ra'ah that don't answer, plus bittul be roiv that maybe in ilchus bishul akum we'd be making and kavach chaymer ma'aseh Shabbos. So in this case of the kishka, I would say that don't eat the kishka, chas v'shalom, but the cholent you could eat. The cholent you could eat. Chayr, the cholent you could eat. That's the kishka case. Klar, everybody say? Now we go weiter. Klar? Klar, we saved the day. No? Nobel Peace Prize? What is that? Maybe. Pause? You can't take a tarti disastri. If you're going to say it's mutter, you can't start kashering pots, especially because it's cheres. Shalom pots are cheres usually. So that's it. But that's a big kula. Don't think that what I just said is not a big kula. There was a Rav that they asked, and the Rav said that everything is treif. We understand that, Rav. Rav opened up the Mishnah Berurah, and everything is treif. We understand that, Rav. Yeah. But l'maisa, you'll tell me, Rabbi Kallus, have you lost your mind? That's what you say. Rabbi Kallus, the Mishnah Berurah says not like this. What are you doing over here? Right? Mishnah Berurah said that he was worried about the blias. So what's the answer? But there's another Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says that when you have a suffix ma'aseh Shabbos, Mishnah Berurah says anytime you have a suffix knas. So since it's a suffix knas, suffix d'rabbanan is a kula. There's no question that this is already at least a suffix. So Sofer showing already, it's except Sofer and Mishnah Berurah. These are two heavyweights. So we are sitting here afterward. We're the nanasim al gabe anak. We're the midgets on top of these giants, and we're looking down and we see these great giants, and we say it's at least a suffix. Nobody can come along and say pashut 100% that this cholent is treif. Who could say that? So therefore, suffix ma'aseh Shabbos, you're allowed to eat. Us? Yeah, so I'm saying we're after that. Shibura wasn't. I'm not sure because with that last Pri Megadim, you have to know. But yeah, Mr. Sorry? Doesn't work like that. We look the whole channel. Everything is kosher. You guys watching TV, you're okay with this cooler or no? It's too much for you American people. People who have the real kishka, people want the taste. No, Manny, don't do it too. It's not Heimlichkeit. It's into the mention. It's just as a Zach. Mention if it's built if it wants the taste from the kishka into the chalent. No. I don't think so. What? It's not even legal. Rabbi Zinger says it's not legal. It's not legal. So therefore, and you know that there's nobody here who does anything illegal. Interesting how Mardik. We should make a seger every day, Rabbi. I know such a simple to come to the Kailal. Akapanim, let me get invited. That's number one. Number two. Now I have a Yetzer Hara. If you stop my Yetzer Hara, I'll stop. I have a Yetzer Hara to go to the stira between Rishon and Gimel and Sivkat and Hay. But I know that we didn't finish Siv Beis yet. So what should I do? Should I allow my Yetzer Hara to get the best of me or no? We got to go in order. No? We got to go in order. Okay, we're going in order. But then I got to go fast because my Yetzer Hara is about to get the best of me. So it's like this. The first question is like this. There's something called Chazara Erev Shabbos. Such a difficult sugya. I tell you, everybody say, what do you mean Chazara Erev Shabbos? We know there's an Isser of Shehiyah on Erev Shabbos, and we know there's an Isser of Chazara on Shabbos. It's one of those very difficult sugyas. There's a Rabbeinu Tam, Taisvis, Adaf Lamed Vav on the base. The Rush brings this. It's a Rabbeinu Tam in Sefer Ad Yasher. And he says over there, he's medayik in the Gemara. I would venture to say that rave of the population does not know what I'm about to talk about. Rave of the population, they don't know what I'm about to, they've never heard of this Isser Bechlal. It's so interesting. In the Kitz's farm, they don't bring it. In the like English ones and the whatever, they don't even bring it. They don't even give the Americans a chance. They don't even give them a chance that they should know about such an Isser. Right? Like I always have a kash on the Kallus teachers, right? The Kallus teachers, they start telling them all types of shtiklach Torah about how if you don't wear your hair covered when you're muteris, so then when you need it, it's all shayla. If it's a problem with our chakras, why don't you give them a chance? Why don't you tell them, Mrs. Version, Mr. Brewer, that a lady that wears her hair covered the whole entire time, so she's zeichet to everything good in this world, everything good in the next world, that her children will be mischashiv in this world and whatever, the zayar and whatever. They don't even give them a chance. They don't give them a chance. They just go straight to if there's a cool or not. Over here, they don't even give them a chance. Just don't tell the Americans about this Chazar Erev Shabbos. It's an interesting stushil, I realize, right? But they don't even give them a chance. Give them a chance. And let them decide if they want to be machmer or not. Let them decide if they want to be machmer or not. I never understood why this chumrah never picked up, but the Ran chumrah did pick up. Everyone knows about oida biyada and daita lachsor. Everyone knows, and we know that people don't even know half the things that went on in the last 10 shiurim. That b'di'evet, if you put it down, and b'di'evet, if you didn't have das, it's going to be mutter because of the Ran. And that, the Ramah says, the minig is lahakal. That the minig is lahakal. So here also, there's also a Ramah. Taisus Rabbeinu Tam says, what does it say in the Mishnah? It says, Lo yitein ad sheyigroif. Don't put your pot on the fire until you do grufa. Let's just use our language, until you put a blech, okay? Don't go, or really grufa was to shovel it out, or to put the dirt on it, to cut them, whatever. So don't put the cholin pot on the fire until you do a grufa ketuma. Those are the words in the Mishnah. Now, there's a machlekes in the Mishnah, which you all saw. How do you learn the Mishnah? Is the Mishnah talking about Shiur, or is the Mishnah talking about Chazar? It's a big world war in the Gemara there and whatever. That means, let's just make a cheshbon. If you learn that the Mishnah is talking about Chazara, so then what does it say in the Mishnah? It says, Lo yitain, don't do Chazara ad sheyigroif. Ad sheyiktain v'yigroif. Don't do Chazara until you do Gruf. Rabbi say, if Chazara is on Shabbos, how in the world can I do Gruf Ketum on Shabbos? Lo yitain, don't put a pot on until you do. Elamai, you'll say, no, it means don't do Chazara unless it's a Goriftika fire. So the Rabbeinu Tam says, then it should have said that. It says, Lo yitain, Elim Kain, Gorif. You said, it doesn't say that. It says, Lo yitain ad sheyigroif, says Rabbeinu Tam. Comes again, Rabbeinu Tam in the righteous book. And he says, from a V'yesi Anuchal Halacha. There's an Isser of Chazara on Erev Shabbos. What does this mean? What does it mean? You're not allowed to do Chazara on Erev Shabbos. What is this thing? Lo yitein, don't put the pot on unless you do Grufa Ketuma now. What is that? What's this thing? What's this Chazara Erev Shabbos? So says Rabbeinu Tam, Moiri de Kechumra. He says, you're not allowed to do Grufa, you're not allowed to do a Chazara on Erev Shabbos. You're not allowed to set up even fully cooked pots, Kinderlach. You're not allowed to, unless you put them onto a blech. So what? So then every food always has to have a blech. Just like Chazara always has to have a blech. So you're telling me Erev Shabbos is a din chazar, so then I always need a blech? Like, what happened to the last 25 working days of the year that we know that there's a concept of not having a blech? So many times I said, no, calm down, 1 minute. All I'm saying is, Zokt Rabbeinu Tam, is that if you're close enough to Shabbos, we have to worry that if a person goes and does chazara on Erev Shabbos, he puts onto a non-covered fire on Erev Shabbos, he's going to say, "Oh, I was allowed to put onto an uncovered fire, so I'll come to do it on Shabbos." How much time is it that he's going to make that mistake? How much time is it? Says Rabbi Natan, he'll make that mistake if it's enough time for the food to get hot, then he won't make the mistake. But if there's not even enough time for the food to get hot, to get yatsa lettuce by, we'll give a number. Let's say it takes to take a pot of chicken soup, it takes 7 minutes to get it from to get a yatsa lettuce by. So if you put it on 8 minutes beforehand, then it's okay. Then it's okay because he's not going to come to say, "Oh, I'll do it on Shabbos." And then you can put it on even without garf and katem. But Mashenkin says Rabbi Natan, if you put the food on and there's not enough time for the food to get to yatsa lettuce by the time the Shabbos comes in, so then there's a chash that he's going to come on Shabbos and do it. Those are the words in Rabbi Natan. Rabbi Natan is Moisef, but don't think it's only if it's actually cold. No, even if it's hot. But if Lu Yitzor would be cold, you wouldn't be able to get it from cold to yatsa lettuce by. It's an amount of time. The amount of time it would take to get this dish from cold to hot, even if it's hot. So then you're not allowed that close to Shabbos to put something on the fire unless that fire is garifikotim. Okay, now before I go find, is that crystal clear what the Yisr is? So am I right to say, I venture to say most people in the world don't know this. That means that if you want, a minute before Shabbos, where's a Negeya? Well, if you have a blech, this is a new reason, Rabbi said, for the rest of your life just to have a blech. You know why? Because then you never have the shaila of Chazar and Erev Shabbos. The whole shaila of Chazar and Erev Shabbos is only klape the blech. It's not klape the other tnayim, says the Mishabura. It's not klape the tnayim of Yadai and Taitalachzor and everything. But this is something to remember for the rest of your life. According to the Mishabura, can I take the chicken, the potato kugel, and these zachen, and take them out of the fridge, 2 minutes before Shabbos, and put them into the oven? According to Rabbeinu Tam, no, because the oven is not fablech. The oven is not blech. And there's an issue of Chazar and Erev Shabbos. Because if you're putting it into the oven, and I'm saying even if it's hot, Rabbi Yisai, even if it's hot, but if there's not enough time to get it to go from cold to hot, you're not allowed to put it on to an oven. An oven is not considered a blech unless there's enough time that it can get from cold to hot, even if it's hot. Even if it's hot. Just let me read the words. Let me read it. This is what the Ramah says here. Says the Ramah. Where's the Ramah, Rabbi Yisai? Where Ayin, right? Where is she? Here. Yesh oimrim. They call shu samich lechashecha. Anything that's close enough to Shabbos, I samich lebarchu. Shu kabbalah Shabbos done. On this, the Mishabura argues, and he says it's totally in shkia. So we'll just go straight with the Mishabura shita. Okay. He says, Imu samich kol kach. If it's so close to shkia, that if the kedera were to be cold, that the kedera was cold, it would not be able to get to Yad Saledis by the time that Shkia hits. So Dinai Kemai b'Shabbos. Then it's like Shabbos. And what does it mean? Says the Mishabura, and then it needs garifikotim. That's what it means, Dinai Keshabbos. Says the Ramah, v'yesh mekilim. Some are mekel. V'aminig is lahakol. Same minig lahakol by the Ran. But it's toiv la'achmir. The Malkim change, right? Have a pomerantz. You don't have a desire for a toiv. You don't have a desire for a toiv. A toiv lahachmir. When there's not such, and what does it say? Amachmir tavla bracha. Don't you want bracha? So why don't they even tell us these things? Why don't they even tell us these things? Right? So the way you get this for the rest of your life, if you ever want to just know, this is another reason why maybe not to put things in the oven. Because when you're putting things in the oven, you might be over on this halacha. What's considered, no, meaning not that it's now cold, even if it would be cold, you mean, it's very interesting, it's very good. You say, let's say you taka, you mamish like 10 minutes before Shabbos, we forgot to take the meat, to take it out of the freezer, right? It's freezing cold. So that thing, to take it, that's a very good case. You're causing trouble. Why don't you get out? You're causing trouble. Causing trouble. He's right. That's a good case. He says if you take a piece of meat out of the freezer, how long does it take to take that meat and make it actually hot? It takes mamish. It takes at least 20 minutes. Right? It takes 20 minutes to get the shkia. So that'll be a problem. What? Not kitchen chaisa. I'm not talking raw. I'm talking that not raw. It's cooked. That's it. The price comes out. I didn't see anybody's machali between liquid or solid. It's the same halacha. The price comes out. It's bein liquid, bein solid. Nobody says that. Bein liquid, bein solid. So this is the halacha. This is the halacha. The Maisa, are there any yates? Because we all want to get the toiv. We all want to get the toiv. The minig is lahakal. I don't know if you have to go home and tell. You definitely don't have to tell this to the shviger. You see the shviger on Erev Shabbos. Could you imagine telling the shviger? You tell her she's taking food out of the fridge, right? She's putting it into the oven, and you say, no, you're not allowed to do that. There's no blech. No blech. The guy doesn't learn Torah. Blech, it's Erev Shabbos. Mamish doesn't learn Torah. What's wrong? It's unbelievable. And then she gets into like one of these private meetings with her husband, they're talking, like one of those matzah, you don't know this. Good. Yeah. And it says, leave this, man. And then the whole Shabbos, they're looking for trouble. Looking for, not my shmegar, they're looking for trouble. So you're going to Erev Shabbos. She tells you, do me a favor. Go to the fridge, take out the food, or even if it's hot, it doesn't matter, fridge, troublemaker, even if it's hot. And she goes to the fridge, take out, put it in the oven. You say, no, this Chazar Erev Shabbos, right? Chazar Erev Shabbos. So on this, you're going to have to say, minig lakel. What could you do? Shmegar. What could you do? So is there any eights over here? Any eights? So the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Katan in Ayin Gimel, he says like this. He says such an ironic chap. It's such an ironic chap. He says, what if the food is Michael ben Drusai? I love this. It's so gishmak. What if the food, the shviger tells you, take out that food over there, and it's Michael ben Drusai, and put it into the oven. So say, Michael ben Drusai, wait a minute, what about Shia? No, I'm already was Michael ben Drusai, that's mefurish. No, there's no blech, no, minig Yisrael. No, that's already don't cause trouble, right? That's but then you say to yourself, wait a minute, it's a Kal V'Chomer. If I can't do Chazara on Erev Shabbos, I certainly can't do Michael ben Drusai. Says the Mishnah Berurah, boom, fakir, boom. Why? Zog the Mishnah Berurah, the whole issue over here is I'm going to do something on Erev Shabbos. I'm going to come to say, if I can do it Erev Shabbos, I'll come to do it on Shabbos. And then I'll go and start putting onto the fire without a blech on Shabbos. I'm never going to do that on something that's Michael ben Drusai, because Michael ben Drusai, according to many shittas, is not cooked. And I bezai, we paskin like those shittas that we're chayshit that it's not cooked. So I'm certainly not on Shabbos going to take something which isn't cooked and go and put it on the fire. So therefore, ironically, it's not either way though. Both of them are chumras, right? Because we're anyways machmer and Michael ben Drusai not putting it on lichatchila Erev Shabbos. But then you don't have that added chumra al kopanim of Chazar Erev Shabbos. That's one thing the Mishnah Berurah says in Sif Katan Ayin Gimel. He says, "V'dafka achash nigmar b'shulay menich lamar akirada erev lishmar choyma." Aval kol zman shol lishvat kol zachem not l'maksei bekol gavni. Delay shayich lemigzeh deyachse gam b'Shabbos zeh umivashol b'Shabbos upshita dimizdari behachi. And then he brings v'yesh machmirim matzlei plug. But you see, obviously, that the gist of the Mishnah Berurah is he brings down the first shita, and then it's only a yesh machmirim, and therefore he's paskening like the first shita. That's number one. Sorry. So Rabbi March says, so then maybe lefi that we could be makel on even a dover that's lach on a chicken soup, because we're never going to come to do it on Shabbos, right? We're never going to come to do it on Shabbos because the chicken soup is mamish chayiv misa. If you take a chicken soup and put it on Shabbos, at least lefi the way the Mishnah Berurah learns, lefi the Igros Moishe, and the Chazai Nish, it's only a chumrah. The whole thing of putting a chicken soup that was yesh bishul achar bishul but dover lach is only a chumrah. Right? We're machmer in that chumrah. So what do you say? Is Rabbi March correct? Doesn't sound like that here, no? Doesn't sound like that here. What's the pshat? It's a good kasha, Rabbi March. What's the answer? Anybody have an answer? What's the answer to this kasha? Whoever has an answer, I'll give him alcohol. That's a good kasha, no? Rabbi Jason, you want to say the answer or no? I have the alcohol, it's mine. It's not necessary. Well, who has an answer? It's a good kasha. It's a raya to Moshe, right? It's a raya to the Chazai Nish. That yesh b'shal b'shal b'davalach is only, no? Anybody watching TV have an answer? Because they're not going to have a matan schar b'tzida. You have to learn Torah l'shma, Rabbi say. No? Yeah, I said, Rabbi Spira, you're not going to get alcohol for that. The Chazai Nish, according to the Chazai Nish, it's great, right? No? If it's Chodesh Chazanish, he would come to do it. It's only a Chumrah, Even that's a shtickle Chiddush, but it's a good kasha in March. Let's think about it. Maybe I'll have an answer soon. But nobody has an answer? Why not? But that's butter. It's only talking about a davar yavish. The whole halacha is only about a davar yavish. I'm saying that the whole halacha here is it's not about a chicken soup. Sorry? No, but the Mishabur is chaylik on the light plug. The first sheet he brings is what Mishabur says, v'yesh machmirim because light plug. No, that's what I just said. The Michael Ben Drusai sheet is the Iker sheet in the Mishabur. Vada. If you go with them, then there's no shayla, 100%. I'm saying the first sheet. No, nice shayla, very much. It's a good shayla. You cause trouble, we throw you out. That's how it goes over here. Yeah? Why do you think Rabbi Sorosher is sitting next to you? You ready to? You have the stick still? That's the second or 9? No. Nobody has an answer. No, Zogin, Rabbi Joseph, tell me the answer. You don't know the answer? You like his kasha? All right, sure. So we'll have to see. Maybe there'll be an answer soon. That won't know. Again, we're talking about, he wants to know why is it that a chicken soup is going to be included in this Isser? It's mashma in the Paiskim, there's no difference. He's saying, a chicken soup, I would never come to put it on Shabbos when it's cold, right? And that's a good title. It's a good shtickle title. Now, as Rabbi say, next, the Mishnah Berurah and Sivkot 9 Beis, I mentioned this already. He says the whole chumrah over here is only to make sure that it's gar v'katim. This in Gansin chumrah is only to make sure that it's gar v'katim. It's not a chumrah klape the other t'naim. It's only a chumrah klape gar v'katim. Okay, that means all you need is a blech, and then you don't have this issue. That's number 2. Number 3 is Gayin Rishlei Mezalmin. The Gayin Rishlei Mezalmin in Aleph Reish Tzayin. He says such a geshmaka kula. This is one of those Rishlei Mezalmin kulas that, the classic. Like somebody called me Taka today, and they wanted to know that their wife is going to the mikveh tonight, and they realized that she has an appointment for a dentist. She has an appointment for a dentist, and when's the appointment for the dentist? On Mazel, Sunday. And then the dentist is taking out. She has a stimas manit. What's a stimas manit? Temporary filling. She has a temporary filling. And she's going to the mikveh tonight. And he just woke up now. Gewalt. How's she going to go to the mikveh? She has a temporary filling. And it's coming out in 3 days from now. So he wants to know what's going to be. What's going to be. It's a big problem. So I told him the secret from Rishlei Mezalmin. I asked him, is your wife very intelligent? No, don't worry. So we got a good one for her. Okay. What's it? You tell your wife, oh, you know that the dentist called today. The dentist called today. I love this. The dentist called today, and the dentist said that because of the seger and because of all this stuff going on, and make it like real, the more you lie, the more you know. So, mamish, because of the seger, and also you're from Romema and whatever. Right? I told your wife's going to chap that she's not from Romema. Now she's not going to chap. Okay. Because Romema and the seger and this and Corona, everything in the world you blame on Corona, no? So beside, he's canceling the appointment. For how long? He's canceling for a whole month. Oh, he's canceling it for a whole month. No. Okay. So, and then what happens? So tonight she goes to the mikveh. And now in her das, it's in this battle there. This cavity is there permanently in this battle. No, he tell her right after the mikveh, tell her, oh, you're not going to believe this. While you were at the mikveh, the dentist called. And that stalker, and the stalker, she's going to say, very good. I'm so happy you told me because I had so much Agnes Nefesh that I couldn't even toivel, because the whole time I was thinking about my dentist appointment. Then what you have to do, she's mamish not smart. You say, oh, you're not going to believe this. No, this is one of those classic Rishlei Mezalmin shtiklach. Rishlei Mezalmin over here, the Zalbazach. Zagayna Gadol Rabbeinu Rishlei Mezalmin. He says, what's your whole problem? Your whole problem is that you have to make sure that the food could get to Yatz Lettuce by. So Rishlei Mezalmin says, so take the oven. Take the oven. It has to be enough time that the food can get to Yatz Lettuce by. Okay, so Rishlei Mezalmin said, so take the food, put it in, let's say you have your chicken, you take it out of the fridge, okay? You take it out of the fridge. How long does it take to get this chicken to be from cold to hot? Okay? Even if it is hot, it doesn't matter, it's the amount of time. So let's say it takes 8 minutes, okay, 8 minutes, right? But you don't have 8 minutes because Shabbos is in 5 minutes, I don't know, right? Says Rishlei Mezalmin, so take the oven, turn it up to 800 Celsius, right? Turn it up to Kelvin, I think it is, no? Or Peter, whatever the guy's name is. Right? Turn it up to 800 Kelvin, right? For 1 second, turn it up to 800 Kelvin. Now, the chicken is in there. In this matziv, Could the chicken get Yad Saleh display in 5 minutes? Yeah. Okay, now turn it down. Why not? You put it in there. At the time, it was able to get there. Okay. So then when I did the mice of the Chazar already, I done already. It says Rosh Hashanah, now I could get there, and that's it. I did mine. And now you can turn it down. Now there's a Chiddush in Rosh Hashanah. What's a Chiddush? What's a Chiddush Rosh Hashanah? Yeah, because I turned it down. Maybe when I turn it down, that's called that second that I took it off, Kivyachal, and I put it back in. No, Rosh Hashanah says no. That's Rosh Hashanah. It's a Chiddush. It's a Chiddush. I don't know if I would have said it, but Rosh Hashanah, and the whole thing is a minig lahakol anyways, so if I say fight, and in a case where he doesn't have a blech, that's what the eitz is. So that's another thing the eitz is you turn on the oven right before Shabbos, you turn it up to its highest, okay, turn it up to 5 million or whatever, and then turn it down beyond. No, it's a kula from Gain Rosh Hashanah. But that's another reason in general to have a blech. Ad kan the halacha of Chazara Erev Shabbos. Anybody have questions? Sorry? Same thing with the stove. It's just an uncommon case. What? No, that I don't buy. Nice try. So evil. But 11 says, can I take it, put it on the fire for 1 second, very, very high, and then I'll put it in the oven. That's for sure you took it off. You're causing trouble. What? No, you're causing trouble. You should be arrested. No, because Bishop, if I turned it up, what? That's exactly what Rabbi Thomas said. Yeah, very good. No, I don't like it. No, I don't. So somebody asked for Shlomo Zalman. No, so to feed that, why do I even have to turn it up to 800 Kelvin? Just put it in the oven. Theoretically, I could. So Shlomo Zalman smiled. The nice Rishalmi smile. Called him. This is not a kasha. What? So that's the halacha. That's Gan's halacha. The halacha is that if theoretically you can get there, so then already it's enough that he got it to that point. Kivyachol, it could get there, and therefore that was the ma'isa. And now he turns it down. It's a chiddush. It's a chiddush. What? Come again? So the whole thing's a chumrah. It's the whole thing's a chumrah. Yeah. No, it's mamish not known. It's unbelievable. It comes out unbelievable. Just think about this. This is unbelievable. That means if on Erev Shabbos he wants to give it one last. It's a very common case. He wants to give it one last, schwung on the fire. He takes the pot or whatever, and he puts it on the stovetop, and he gets it all hot, and then he throws it in the oven. And he throws it in the oven while the oven's on. He just wants to, take it on the fire, make it one piping hot, and then put it in the oven. And he does it 7 minutes before Shabbos. So that's not enough that it's hot now. I need to know. Would it be able to get from cold to hot, volt to give vein that it was cold? And if the answer is no, you're over on Chazar and Erev Shabbos. Now, it's not the worst crime because the minig is local, but just realize at least that you did an avera, right? In the Chidah video, you probably have to do video. Actually, Chidah not because Shulnar doesn't bring it. But what? What does it mean? Oh, wow. That's interesting. Shlomo Zalman was talking about, he's right. The case of Shlomo Zalman was that you turn up the fire. He's asking a very good question. He's saying, my tzushtel of Shlomo Zalman is not a good tzushtel. My tzushtel of Shlomo Zalman, the actual case he was talking about was that you had chicken soup, let's say on a fire. You turned the fire all the way up. That matzah, like a bonfire coming around the side over there, right? And in that case, one moment, says Shlomo Zalman, that's enough. And now you can just turn it down. Okay? My case is not that. My case is you do it to the oven. When I turn the oven on to 800 Kelvin, that second it doesn't get to 800 Kelvin. And it's not going to get there. It's never going to get there. It's not bad. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you're right. Maybe you don't have this eitzah, but I kind of don't hear the eitzah so much as it is. So maybe in taking an oven, you don't have the eitzah. It's very good kasha. Kalim says some good kashas today. It's very much good kashas. But you see, when you're moiser nefesh to come to Kailo from the territories, right? That's mamish. You see, mamish murder gazach. No, because Nussi escaped, so I don't want to get him in trouble or anything. But mamish murder gazach. No, murder gazach. What? Why is it mamish good kasha? No. For sure, that's what will happen. But how can I look at it because a number came on, but nothing actually happened? It's not a fire that can do anything at this point. What? Yeah. So I say the opposite. I don't know if I hear that. I don't know if I hear that. I don't know. I hear that. Your svara comes without Mesiras Nefesh, right? Because the Ramah Shkol's not in the territories yet. So, I don't know. You hear what he's saying? He's causing trouble. Rabbi Shiur says, Pum Faker. He says, so then even if I put it on low, now first of all, I don't like that story because when you put something with the Hagbala that it's going to on its own go off, that's called your Maisa. No, you're causing trouble. These guys were mamish moist never. You know, they had to fight with police and the women cops. They're the worst. I mean, you know, it's not like, what? Sorry? What if you move the crock pot? I don't like it. That's what they asked before. I don't like that. If you're going to move, if you already put it on the fire, and then Rabbi Rash is saying it's like the most normal case in the world. You take it's mamish. No, but usually you're putting it onto a crock. You're putting it onto a blech. Where are you putting it to? No, but it's a hot plate. It's a blech. No, but it's a hot. You're doing a crock, but it's a weird case. Nobody takes a crock pot. What do you do? Yeah. But and you don't have a blech in your crock pot. I'm saying. So he's saying a case like this. Rabbi saying, let me tell the guys that are watching TV. He's saying that the case is, mamish negay cases. You have a crock pot. And you don't have a, shviger. She doesn't have a Heim Sinish Geven Ken Blech. And she says all types of weird things. Right? There's no such thing, a Blech. And the Heim says Nish Geven Ken Lashon Hara. The Rebbe's good at Lashon Hara. My Tata good at Lashon Hara. There's no such thing as a nice. So she takes, Erev Shabbos, she makes the cholent in the crock pot. And then she needs 2 minutes. She needs that outlet. So she unplugs it and she has to curl the shaitel with the iron curl or whatever. So she takes out, it's a more normal case, right? And she takes out the outlet, and there's the outlet on the so 5 minutes before Shabbos, you say, hey, give out, and now you take the outlet, the plug, and you put it in the outlet, right? You take the plug, you plug it back in, and there's like 8 minutes left till Shabbos, okay? 8 minutes till Shkia. So now you have to cheshbon. Can it get from cold to hot? Usually not. Can't get from cold to hot. So then that's it. The only way in this case to get out of the problem is either to say a minig lahakel or to put in a blech. He's right. These cases are again. You guys, they don't even give you a chance. Did anybody ever hear this? Did anybody hear this who ever didn't learn Hilchos Shabbos before? No? You knew this? You knew this? You knew this? You knew this or no? Well, they knew this. Huh? I'm a singer in the Heim, this guy, they knew this. Right? What do you think? I'm not going to attack you also? No, Spitzer? Never heard this. Never heard. I remember when I learned Hilchos Shabbos, when I learned Hilchos Shabbos, I learned Rishon and Gimel first. Big mistake. And the first thing I ever learned in Hilchos Shabbos was Rishon and Gimel. Okay, and I get to see Aleph. No, that's already okay. I heard of a blood. Chaznish says no such thing as blood. You get to see Beis, and you get this thing. You think mamish, it's amazing. I never realized there's a Baal Tshuva. I grew up. I was mamish goyim. Mamish didn't even know this. Nobody knew this. Right? The first thing I said, wow, is all of Hilchos Shabbos going to be like this? This I think is the most unknown halacha in all of Hilchos Shabbos. No, okay, a minute lahakel. Now you know why. I guess I don't know. When you put tea lights without a blech, l'chayra, he wants to know, what if I do my tea light shtickle? So my tea light shtickle is like a blech. So that would work. If you put tea lights, Rabbi Rosenberg, that would be beseder. Come again? Sorry? Also, he's right. It's terrible. You're 2 minutes. There you are again. 8 minutes before Shabbos. It's terrible. In so many cases, this is again 8 minutes before Shabbos. You open up the oven. Stop. You want to snoop around in there. It's always a normal case. 2 minutes before Shabbos. The husband. That husband. He's like a little bit like nosy. 2 minutes before Shabbos. He just opens the oven. He just wants to see what's going on. What are we having tonight for a meal? He just wants to see what we're eating tonight, right? He opens up the oven, he takes out the tray, opens up, can't wait to eat you, right? And then I love you. You don't love you, love your stomach, right? And then he takes it, he closes, and he pushes it back in the oven. What did he just do? He just did Chazar of Shabbos. Oh, you get out. Rabbeinu Tam hates you, right? No, you hear this? It's very good case. Okay, unbelievable. No, Manny, in the Haim of the Gehat, is that Isser? In the Haim, anybody ever heard of such a Isser? No way. In Micha and Lakewood, they have such an Isser? Never heard of this. No such thing in Lakewood. No such thing. Shine. Let me get. Very good. Rabbi Rosenberg says, in Rabbeinu Tam, you have till Rabbeinu Tam Shki anyways. There you go. Okay, let me get weiter. There's a Rabbi say, All right, we don't have time. Now I'm not going to get to what Masha Alva Nafshi, it's all your fault. Now I'm not going to get to the steer between Rishon and Gimel and Rishon and Hey. You've caused me tremendous agmas nefesh, as you can see. Okay, so let me just tell you one last thing. This is a shaila I've been asked the whole week over here. I think you were troublemaking a little bit, Rabbi Cooper, and there's a lot of you that were making a little bit trouble over here. I was being asked the whole week, what happens if I take the food and I'm holding the food and it gets cold? Am I allowed to do chazara when the food gets cold? Is there a new t'nai in chazara? We know one t'nai in chazara is either biyadai, taita lachzar. We know it has to be fully cooked mitzad hilchas bishul. We know there's got to be a blech. We know you're not allowed to put it in the oven, whatever's called toich the oven. Those are the t'naim of chazara. No, is there another t'nai that it has to be hot? Or at least not hot, maybe warm. Right? And what would be the logic that there be such a t'nai? The logic would be that zikr looks like a new maisa of Mexican mevashel, right? That zikr looks like a Mexican mevashel because look what the guy's doing over here. He's mamish taking something and making it go from cold to hot. That looks like cooking yosher called the misa. So the logic would be there, but you need a makor to such a thing. Did everybody have this question? I've asked this question many times. Is there? So this is mamish a great big shaila in how to learn the Sefer Mishnah Berurah. The great big shaila to learn. Why? Because this all over the place over here. The Mishnah Berurah talks about rosachas. He keeps talking about that the kedeira has to be rosachas when I return it. Now, when you look in the Igros Moshe, I'm going to go out of order. When you look in the Igros Moshe in Chelik Daled and Siman Ayin and Chelik Daled Ayin Daled Lamed Daled. No, it's not. It's in Lamed Gimel. I don't know why I wrote Lamed Daled. Daled Ayin Daled Lamed Gimel. When you look over there in Igros Moshe, Daled Ayin Daled Lag, where Moshe says that the Tanai of that which it says always in the Magen Avraham and the place that they say you have to return it only when it's hot is not a t'nai in cooking. Meaning you could have learned, you know why they need it to be hot? They need it to be hot because if it's not hot, and let's say you have the chicken soup in your hand, you're going to be over on bishul. So Rav Moshe says not like that. Rav Moshe says not like that. He says the Magen Avraham also says not like that. What does he mean? He means the nafkamina is, let's say you have something that it's for sure ein bishul achar bishul, like what? Like a davar yavish. So you have potato kugel, and you want to know, when I have potato kugel in my hand, and I have all the t'nayim, I have oida b'yado and daita lagster, and I have the ran, and I have a blech, and it's not going on the toich, and whatever, everything is good. But now, I held out the potato kugel for so long that it's cold. Am I allowed to put it back on the fire? Am I allowed to put it back on the fire? So if the problem of why I need it to be roisachas is because bishul, so then there's no problem. Because I ain't bishul achar bishul, and there's no problem with chazara because I have all the t'nayim of chazara. But if there's a new t'nai that has to be roisachas, it has to be warm. Why? Because otherwise it's Mexican mevashel. So then over here, it also looks like you're going from cold to hot. The Igros Moshe says that the Magen Avraham in Sivkat and Lamed Vav, I think it was, that he holds it's a t'nai in chazara. And therefore, if the food is cold, it's a problem. Ad kan Igros Moshe from the Magen Avraham. The Chazon Ish in Lamed Zayin Yud, he brings down that not like this. He brings down it's a din in bishul. The Chazon Ish is mekel on this. Chazon Ish says that if you take a potato kugel and you hold the potato kugel or whatever, right, or you have the ran, Rabbi said, you want to hear an unbelievable thing. According to the Chazon Ish, you're not going to believe what I'm about to say. In Pasha, you won't believe what I'm about to say. If you take out the potato kugel on Friday night and you put it on the table, dry potato kugel, and you say, you know what? I want to have potato kugel after I learn. I want to have potato kugel after I learn. The potato kugel was on the table. There's no havamina of putting her back, and you want to take it now and put it on top of on the hot plate itself. According to the Chazon Ish, it's mutter gomer. Why? Because mitzad bishul ain't bishul chabishul. I mitzad what? I mitzad chazara. Okay, so we have the ran. Okay, could you be saying mechad the ran lechatchila? Okay, probably not, right? A potato kugel, if you learn. Let's say a Jew comes to me and he says like this. He says, I know myself, right? I need incentives. There's some people that need incentives, right? I know myself. If I have like a potato kugel to look forward to, right, then I'm going to be able to learn with a smada and whatever. I'm going to learn an extra hour and a half on Friday night. If I had the potato, if I have a potato kugel coming to me, so then maybe. Elam is very long, far away. I can't. But if I have a potato kugel coming to me, then I'll do it. He comes, he knocks on my door. Can I take the potato kugel and put it on? I'm going to tell him, Moshe would take you and throw you over. He even asked such a question of Aryan, right? But he tells me, but you should just know, I'm from Bnei Brak. I'm Mutter Gomer. Mutter Gomer. What? They're black. Okay. I'm sorry. Whatever. No, that Chazon Ish doesn't know. No, so interesting. No, unbelievable. That's the Shita. And so what does the Mishnah Berurah hold about this? Mishnah Berurah is a shtickle, a stira. We don't like saying Mishnah Berurah is a stira. Mishnah Berurah in Tzivkat and Samech Ches. Mishnah Berurah, what does he say in Samech Ches? No. He says, Miriam Nitztanin, was? He tells you Ayin in the Magen Avram Lamed Vav. That's our Magen Avram that said it's Tznayin Bishul. Okay? That it's Tznayin Chazara. Dafilu b'dvar Yaveh Shein by Mark. The Leshayach by Bishul Gam Kein Aser. The Keva the Nitztanin Batla Shehia Rishoina v'Havekenoisei Nata Michadet B'Toichat Haner. He brings down over here. And he tells you, go and look over there. Look, it's a mitzvah l'shmoil divrei chachamim. And you look over there, you'll see that the Magen Avram Taka says that you're not allowed to take that potato kugel and put it onto the fire. So over here, it sounds like the Mishnah Berurah is learning that the Dinim Chazara, and the Mishnah Berurah would tell you about that potato kugel on Friday night. Don't you dare. Okay? But then there's the Mishnah Berurah, where is it, Jaime? Wait, Sadi Aleph we want to do first. That's more fun, because there's a Shar Tziyah. In Sadi Aleph, he says, because it's a little bit fair, because he says to go there, sort of that's the Mishnah Berurah on that topic. He says, Ve'im ayat tavshel mitztana legamrei. If the tavshel's cold, kaim alon the yesh oid mishum bishel. Ve'aser laniach afilu b'toner kazeh. The shema yagia tavshel that it'll be yatzaleh. The shartziyim peites ayin bir lacha. When you listen to the bir lacha, you're going to see a whole new story. Ayin bir lacha. In the bir lacha over here, he brings the gra. This bir lacha, you have to, it's a real limud how to learn this bir lacha. The bir lacha over here, it says, he talks about what's the reason why you can't take something that's no longer hot and put it back on the fire. If it's a covered fire and everything, why not? So he says, Ratza loymar, that why do I need sachas? K'moish pirish agra. The im nitztanin says the gra, you know why? Because then you'll be over on bishul. Because the guy learned that we're talking about a liquid type of a food. You want to take kompot, right? The kompot is off the fire, on the table. And you want to know, can I put some kompot back on? It's like last week, one of my married daughter was out. So my wife said, can we put the kompot back on the fire? Can we put it back on the fire? So that when they come home, they'll be able to have kompot. That was a kompot. They said it's all liquidy and whatever, it's all liquidy. So then, and it's already cold, and it's not like, because they're going to come out, and it's so cold outside these days, But it's already liquidy. So if it's already liquidy, but it's warm. It was warm. I felt it. I wasn't sure if it was warm and whatever. Right? And also, you want to start being Seimech on the Ran, right? That's a big kula. But the issue is a much bigger issue, because the guy says, what we're dealing with? Maybe it's the problem of bishul, because if it's taka not warm and it's mamish cold, you have a problem of bishul. But let's say it would be a potato kugel, and the potato kugel is vadai cold. Says the goyim mutter. It's mutter. The kain mashma. If you look in the dark in Moshe, and that's where the Ramah comes from. V'yadua tama beis yosef machmir is because of sachas hiksha beis yosef batzma mitchila. Then he says these moyer dikrei mikol zeh muchach she'apirish hu kagra. The pirish is like the gra. U'maj hiksha l'mogen avram pashit according to Ramah. It's not fair. It sounds like over here that he's going with the gain. And Shabur over here sounds like he goes with the gra. Shabur goes with the gain. Wasn't there an aval over here in the Bir Lachal also? I think. Huh? Says, what? Aval. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of because he makes these, in this version of the Bir Halachas, he makes a new Dibra Maschal. I didn't realize. I thought that was the start of it. Aval Bir Agra. That the whole start of this is a nice, the whole start of this shtickle in the Bir Halacha starts with the words Aval Babir Agra. Aval, we know in the Mishnah Berurah is a psak. What's aval in the Bir Halacha? So I asked this question to Rav Sheinberg Zeichel Tzadik L'Vracha. I asked him on this Bir Halacha. God, I wasn't learning the Sugya at the time, but I was learning an aval. There was an aval somewhere else. And so at some point, I said to him, are all avals in the Mishnah Berurah psak? So I said, yeah. I said, and what about in the Bir Halacha? There are avils in the Bir Halacha. Aval is an avil in the Bir Halacha. Is that also psak? Is also psak, right? So Scheinberg said, no. And he said to bring a Mishnah Berurah. So they brought out the Mishnah Berurah, and he opened to Bir Halacha Reish and Gimel Dibra Mascho Ubelvad Shaloi Nitztanim Legamrei Aval Babi Agra. He said, read this Bir Halacha. Read this Bir Halacha. Read the whole Bir Halacha. Do you think, what's the Bir Halacha coming to say over here? He sounds like the whole gist of what he's saying over here. He answers up the Mogen Avram and he says, this is the Makor and the Darkei Moshe also learned like that. The whole gist of the Bir Halacha over here. So he says, so it's Megala that when the Bir Halacha says Avil in the Bir Halacha, he's going with that Malach also. How do you stem that with the other Mishnah Berurahs? Not so schwer. The other Mishnah Berurahs are just telling you, Ayin in the Mogen Avram, Ayin in the Mogen Avram. But it sounds like the Bir Halacha would learn somewhat like the Chazayin Ish. And then it'll come out la local Maisa. Now you shouldn't do this because safe, if the potato kugel is on the table, then you have to be saimich on the ran. And the ran is not so simple. Yeah. But let's say somebody comes to me and he says to me on a Friday night, I have a potato kugel on the table. I know if I tell these bachrim, they're gonna, it's like, yeah, but it's manim, yeshiva bachrim, whatever. You tell them, I'm putting back the potato kugel. You guys will have hot potato kugels. Go and learn for 2 hours. They're gonna learn for 2 hours. 2 hours of Torah could be saimich on the ran, no? 2 hours of potato cook. What? Shartzi in Siman Shin Yud Ches. Which one? So you can't remember. He says or Shiur, right? Where was that one? It's both, right? Shartzi and where was it again? Membav. Jewish. It says Eli Rabba made the Yesh Machmirim Dala Eish Bishel Achar Bishel. The Yoid the Yesh Mizem Mishum Chazara. Ukitleel, Mogen Avram. Huh? Shash Chazarda? What? Excuse me, what? Right? What? No. Would the Ran himself agree? Stop. We're saying everyone will agree, for sure. No, Avada will be mutter lefi the Ran. Avada is mutter lefi the Ran. I'm just saying, but I don't know if I want to have to come on to the Ran. Come again? Oh, you don't have a right to that. I don't know. I have no idea. No, it's not the same thing at all. He's saying, Rabbi Rash was saying, is it muchach that the Ran is going to hold like the Gra? I don't know how you say it, Gra like the Ran, but is it muchach that the Ran is going to hold like the Goyim? So he says it must be, right? Because the Ran's sheet is, once it hits Shabbos, everything is already, a hamshich. Not sure if that's true, just like you need Garfik Katim. We don't know that. You don't know if the Ran holds Garfik Katim is al taslich to you. You have no right to that at all. Mishabur learns not like that, as a matter of fact. So it's not true. That's not mucha. Akapanim, das is Allah Lamaisa. Now I have to say on Chumash now. I have no choice. I have to say on Chumash now. I mean, it's a simple saying Chumash, but we didn't get to anything today. I just wanted to be made clear, this is the least that we ever learned in a Shiur. Ever. No? And I think it has to do with Rabbi March asked the question. Maybe that's why, I'm not sure. Right? No. Sure. Okay. So the Rabbi said, do me one favor, Rabbi said, Sunday, that we're all, Bez Hashem, be here, hopefully, even though you're not going to have to break through Segers. I mean, we don't know. But the Maisa, make sure you try to get to already the stira between Reish and Gimel and Hey, and then Bez Hashem, we got Rabbi Zinger's getting nervous. What's going to be with Ataman now? He's getting very nervous, right? We have 8 working days. Rabbi said, there's no games. We have to do Atmana. So therefore, Sunday we have to finish Chazar and probably even start Atmana. You never heard such an affirmative action before. No. Okay, so let me say something on the Parsha. 1 second. And then, okay, let's say something on the Parsha. Okay, so I welcome all of our listeners from Torah Anytime to Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, Shchunat Mei HaShodim. Right? Parshas Matos Masai. Parshas Matos Masai. Listen to the Yalkut on this week's Parsha. Listen to the Yalkut. The Yalkut is in Ois. It's in Matos. It's in Ois. Oh, wow. So how is this? In the 786th Ois in the Yalkut Shimoini. He says like this. Shalosh matonos elu. He's going on the psukim by Reuven, Gad, V'chati Shevet Menashe, that they wanted to take the Shevet, they wanted to take their Nachla in the Evel Garden. So he says, Listen to Azayalke. Shalosh matanis elu nivru ba'olam. There are three matanis that were nivru in the world. Chachma, ugvura, ve'oisher. Chachma, wisdom, gvura, strength, and oisher, and wealth. These are three matanis that were nivru in the world. V'kevan shaloi boyos me'hakadosh baruch hu. Since they don't come from the Helik Bashefer, they don't come from God. So since they don't come from God, soifan pasik mimenu, they're not going to last. Wisdom doesn't last. Wealth doesn't last. Strength doesn't last. Why? Because it doesn't come from God. And the Gemara brings, and the Yalkut brings a raya. He says, I'll prove it to you. Shnei chachamim amid ba'olam. There are two chachamim that were oimid in the world. He means in the Goyish world, the Umas ha'olam. Actually, I shouldn't say from the Umas ha'olam. One from the Goyim, one from the Jews. Bilam, Umas ha'olam. Achi Toifim Yisrael. Both of them were very, very wise men. Tremendously wise men. Ushneim avdu me'ha'olam hazeh u'ma'olam haba. They lost this world, they lost the next world. There were two wealthy men. There was Kairach from the Klal Yisrael, and there was Haman from the Umas ha'olam. There was Klal Yisrael, and there was Haman. And there was Kairach, and there was Haman, and they were wealthy men. Excuse me? And they were wealthy men, and they lost everything. They lost Avdum and Ha'olam, they lost this world, they lost them. And they bring down also Shimshon Agiber. The Kainat HaMoitzi in this week's parsha. B'nei Gad u'b'nei Ruvan, they were wealthy harbe. V'ayile mikne gadol, v'chiviv v'yes ha'mikne. And they loved their sheep. And since they loved their sheep, so it says over here that they wanted to sit in Ever Yarden, lefikach galu tchila. And therefore they were the first to go into Kallus. The Haini, they didn't last. So this medrash is a phenomenal medrash. The medrash says that there are three things. There's gvura, there's strength and wisdom, chachma, and wealth, ashiris. And the medrash brings examples of people that taka didn't last. Why didn't they last? Because these things are not boyois me'akadosh baruch hu. They don't come from God. It's the biggest medrash plea mamish in the ganze Welt. Wealth doesn't come from God. Chachma doesn't come. Liha chachma, liha kesef, liha zav. Strength doesn't come from God. Everything comes from the Helik Bashefer. But it says over here, these things don't come from God. Ein a voice me'akadosh baruch hu. And that's the pshat in this week's parsha. That's why Ruth and God were the first ones to go into Kallus, because what did they have? A lot of wealth, and it doesn't come from God, and therefore it doesn't last. It's one kasha. Another kasha, bigger kasha. What's the reason why Reuven and God went into Kallus first? So the Medrash says, because they loved their money. They loved their sheep. So that's why they went into Kallus. So what does that have to do? Because it's a matana that didn't come from God. It's not, you can't read the Medrash. The Medrash is pasuk v'kad v'siyim v'chavis. The Medrash starts out saying the reason why they're not going to keep their money for a long time is because it doesn't come from God. And the Medrash ends and says, you know why they don't keep their money? They don't keep their money because they love their money. So, if I say, you have obviously it's not a stira. Obviously not a stira. And obviously the pshat is that over here, everything comes from God, Rabbi Isai. Everything comes from the Helik Bashefer. Liya Kesef, Liya Zav. Everything comes from God. All chachma comes from God. All money comes from God. Every matana, every bit of everything good comes from the Helik Bashefer. And this is the most basic aleph beis. Everybody knows this. The Medrash says that these are the three things: wisdom and wealth and strength, that are the biggest risk that the person starts saying liha kesef, liha hagvura. And these are the three things that a person believes it's his own money. These are the three things that after a person starts to love them and start to cherish them, so then he starts feeling that it's mine. It's my money. It's my wisdom, my chachma, right? That's how I got this position, and I got this, and it's my wealth and my strength, and he feels like he's the big, strong person, and it's my wealth. These are the three things that if a person doesn't have constant akara and constant recognition, then you're going to come to the point of Einam Boyes Me'akadosh Baruch Hu. That has to be pshat in the Medrash, because there's no such thing that something doesn't come from God and Kavachaymer Geld. So these are the three things that they come from God, but if you don't constantly have that recognition, then they're the matanas that are Einan Boyes Me'akadosh Baruch Hu. Memela, says the Medrash, very simple. It's like the Medrash, Reuven and God went into Kallus first. Why did God and Reuven go into Kallus first? Because they love their money. But regularly they come to the point of when you love your money, everybody's like, the treasurer in the bank, the person that works in the bank, right? Does he love the bank's money? Right? If he loves the bank's money, you got to fire him. Right? He doesn't love the bank's money. Right? He doesn't love the bank's money. He understands his job. Maybe he loves his job. Right? But he understands his job. But reggae, you love the bank's money, then you're a little bit too close to the money of the bank. And then already it's no longer the bank's money. So Berega that the Reuven and God started to love their mikneh, they loved their mikneh, they were coming to the point where no longer is it a matana from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And slowly it turned into Einam Boyes HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And that's the Metzias by Bilam, very wise man, etc. So he didn't have that akara. He started to think it's me. He started to think it's my chachma. Yeah, they really hold of me, and please let me go with Balak. Please let me go with Balak. Like as if it's going to work. He kept telling him, I don't know, it's up to God. But what was his havamina? Because slowly, he was losing that akara that it's not coming from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Koyrach when it came to his Ashiras and Shimshin, etc. These are things that require constant akara and recognition that they come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. At time that you don't have that constant recognition, so then slowly, you lose that akara that it comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you're learning here a big side. At kama that you have the recognition that it comes from God, it will not end. Because then you're a trusty gizber. Then you're somebody who's worried to have that chachma. But berega, you start coming to the point where it doesn't come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then it has an end. Then it has an end because the HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, oh, that matan is not for me anymore. So then he's no longer my trusty gizber. And that's the pshat in this medrash. That kind of is the medrash. So, the Maisa, people are telling me all different decisions that people are making today that, in this matzav of COVID-19, a fancy way of saying corona, a fancier way of saying it. So COVID-19, so people are saying who could give tzedakah today? Who could give tzedakah because people are worried, the people are worried. So, let's just give tzedakah today, Chayv was lashon of the Medrash. The Medrash says over here, the Medrash says, Chivvu es hamikneh. They love their money. And they're afraid, where's the money belong? The money should stay by me. Chivvu, now's the time to not give tzedakah. Is there any tipshis greater than that? Is there any tipshis greater than that? People are making decisions like, should he go back and learn in Kallus, or should he stay in Kallus? Decisions like that, right? Is there any greater tipshis in the world? Is there any greater tipshis in the world? He's worried about his money. He's worried about, things that are important to him. Is there any time ever that a person should want to be a more faithful gizber to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and want that his money should continue? And want that the matana should be not nifsa chas v'shalom from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that the matana should continue from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And to be chivavoy as hamikneh in this matzav? Was there ever a time that was closer to the Ikvus and Mashiach, in the Chevlei Mashiach, in a time of the things that are going on in the world, being in the downfall of every government in the world, being that machla is widespread in the world, being that every medrash that was ever talking about the Ikvus and Mashiach is more clear than the medrash alone. And now's the time to be chivavoy as hamikneh. Now's the time. What was the mistake of Reuven and God? Reuven and God, they loved their money. What does it mean they loved their money? They started making decisions based on how am I going to keep my money? Not, is this the decision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? How would he make the decision? The decision of HaKadosh Baruch Hu was, we want to go into Eretz Yisrael. I'm there, Madrega, but that's what Chazal are teaching us over here. But they started to make decisions based on Chivva Yes HaMikneh. Our decisions are being made based on, I love my money. And then now no longer is it Bayis HaKadosh Baruch Hu. When you start making decisions based on, I love my money and I want to keep my money with me, so then that's already a decision which, that's not a Kadosh Baruch Hu making a decision. You're no longer a Gizber. Now you're on your own. Now it's not a matana shaboyis me'akadosh Baruch Hu. So that's, people make such a terrible mistake. In this matzav now, to not give tzedakah, imagine it's ein lecha tipshis gadol misayis. In this matzav now, when a person needs more siyata d'shmaya than ever before, and this decision now to make decisions about, then maybe now I should tackle leave kailo because now there's a little bit of mesiras nefesh, but it's not even mesiras nefesh when you have any seichel. Now's when you need bayis me'akadosh Baruch Hu. You need that the money should be continuing straight from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not that you're going to go on your own. In this matzav, is there anybody in his right mind that would want to go on his own in this matzav? In the matzav of the world today? It's a terrible tipshis. But that's what's the pshat? Why do people make this mistake? Why does anybody make such a mistake? Everybody knows that parnasa comes from Shemayim. Every one of us knows gelt comes from Shemayim. Anybody knows that the money and everything is liya kesef and liya zav. So how does a person make such a ridiculous mistake? That he should, the answer is the Medrash is teaching us already, because he loves his money. When he loves his money, he no longer makes his decisions based on, if this is what God would want. And then you're no longer a gizber.
then you're no longer a treasurer. When he loves his money, he tries to figure out a way, how am I going to keep it by me? Because when you love it, it's mine. It's mine. Kolkanda that you're a gizber, so then you work for the bank. You work for the bank, boyis my kodesh baruch hu. But he wants to know, how am I going to keep the money safe by me, he says to himself. So that's what you have to work with the Yetzer Hara. When the money is safe by you, if the money is safe by you, then it's your money. And then you're not going to have this Siyata Shmai. It'll be mufsak. It won't be boyis, it'll be money. What's the lashon of the medrash? Shaloi boyis me kodesh baruch hu. Who wants that kind of geld? That's the money that's going to end. Someone was telling me a story about a Jew in Muncie. Are there any Jews in Muncie over here? I know you guys on TV. Some of you are from Muncie. But so he was telling me like this. He told me a Murdik Maisa. I don't know if the story happened now or if it was a story, but he told me something about Murdik Maisa. He told me that there was a person who was dealing with China. It's like a bad word these days. But he was dealing with China. He had like schayra from China. And the Chinese sent him bad schayra. And because of that, he took a big hit. He took a big loss. In other words, he had the money of a lot of investors, and he bought schayra from China. When the schayra came, the schayra was all messed up, terrible schayra. He was the Erlich Yid, so he gave everybody back his money and they had back their money. And now he's left with all this dreadful schayra. And he took a very big hit, and he didn't know what to do. How's he going to buy the next schayra? Usually it was based on the money that he had. A very big problem. And he was mamish in a very shreklich matziv. It sounded like it was these days now. It sounded like it was a very shreklich matziv. So what he did was, belay brera. He didn't feel comfortable. He never did this before. But to go and get mortgages and things like that from banks, and he didn't need that kind of money. He needed just in order to get the next schayra, pay for the schayra, and then that should cover him. But usually that's how it worked. And now he's not. And if he doesn't get this, it's a downward spiral. If you can't go into the schayra now, it's going to downward spiral. So there was a fellow in shul. And he was a good friend of his, and he said to him, listen, I'm in a matziv. He told him his matziv. He was surprised. This person's like a wealthy fellow. Usually, he's doing fine. He says the Maisa, he needs still hate. He also doesn't want people to know about this loan, because then, people start getting nervous. When he's the type of person with investors, people get nervous, right? So he says, do you have money that you could lend me? The money you could lend me. He says, what do you need? He says he needs about $85,000. $85,000 for a month, puts him on his feet, and then he'll be right back to where he was. $85,000. So the person, he said like this, he said he was thinking to himself, he's thinking, I have $85,000, but that's the money that's his savings. That's his savings. That's the money he put aside for his daughter's wedding. That's his savings. So he said, and where's the money safest? By me. If I give this person the money, it's a risk, right? Every halva is a risk. Where's the money safest? This is certainly the most safe by me. So he said, but maybe that's the Yetzer Hara. That's the Yetzer Hara. Doesn't know what to do. He says, okay, look, Maisa, Mistama, it's a mitzvah, you have to shmai. Even though the money is safest by me, but what could you do? You have to lend the Yid money. So he told him to come to his house, and he went to the basement. That's where he hides the money. I don't know if this is, I'm not giving away secrets now, but most people just hide it behind this farm. But so he goes to the basement. In the basement, he has a shoebox, old shoes. In the box, the old shoebox, that's where he has 85,000. Must have been big shoes. When the person told me the story, he's like, wow, must be like Nikes, Air Nikes or something, the big ones with the boots or whatever. Big shoes. He had $85,000 in the shoebox. He comes down to the basement to get the money, even though where's the money safest by me, but the mice, you have to do a Yid Tov and you have to help them out. He comes to the basement and he sees that there was like some major cleanup in the basement. He comes downstairs, such a major cleanup. He goes to his hiding spot and the box is gone. He runs upstairs. He tells his wife, what happened in the basement? She said, that's it. I had enough. I cleaned up the whole basement. She didn't know about the $85,000. So he cleaned up the whole basement. He says, yeah, I cleaned up the whole basement, right? Her and the guy did the whole basement. He says, well, where'd you put everything? He says, I had enough of this. We're turning this place into it's turning into a machsan, into a garden. So where's everything? In the garbage. You threw everything out. Yes, everything in the basement. Oh, give out, right? Everything you do. So someone told me, you guys will tell me from the Muncie guys, that the garbage pickup in Muncie is on Monday and Thursday. Is this, I don't know, is this still the Messiah? That's what the person told me. I'm getting fingers. Okay. So Every Monday and Thursday is garbage pickup. This story happened on a Wednesday. The cleaning crew came on Tuesday. On Wednesday, he came to go and get the money. The person's upstairs thinking, okay, Baruch Hashem, I have a yid that's going to help me. He's frantic, running around looking for his money. And there he is. He goes to the garbage and he rummages through 10 bags of garbage. 10 bags of garbage until he found the shoebox and found all $85,000. He comes back, he tells the person, you don't know what you saved me. You don't know what you saved. If I wouldn't have given you the money, if I wouldn't have lent you the money would have been in the garbage. Right? The money would have been in the garbage. It would have been in the garbage. He wouldn't have had to have him to go to the basement. He doesn't go and hang out in the basement. He wouldn't have had to have him, and the money would have been in the garbage. So he says, so where's the money safe? Because that's when a yid makes a decision based on that kara that I'm just a gizber and it's boyis me'akadosh baruch hu. So then that money lasts. That's money lasts. But there's another cheshbon that sometimes it's difficult for us to take the money out of our pocket. Sometimes because I'm not trying to root him. The first reason is simply because, where's the money safest? If HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me the money, so then I'm a trusty gizber. He wants me to watch the money faithfully and not give it to anybody else. But that's not true. Okay? But then sometimes you have other terutzim. There's terutzim, terutzim. And sometimes we build a fence around ourselves of such a terutzim that people are even afraid to ask us for money. A lot of that's the matziv today. People, they're very nervous, yeshivas, and everybody's nervous to ask people for money today. Because they put up as a fence around them. A lot of the people that, to ask for money today, when there's Corona and COVID-14 and whatever, to ask for money today, So you put a little fence and then nobody's even going to ask you for money. If you put up enough of a scare, so that people aren't even going to ask you for money. They're not even going to ask, right? So let me tell you one last story. I parked today in a place called Bate Wittenberg. I don't know, how do you pronounce it? Wittenberg, yes? Let me tell you, I parked over here, so it took me a long time to get here, right? You got nervous that I wasn't coming. I couldn't find a parking spot. I wound up in Bate Wittenberg. Don't think it's in Renana, Rabbi. It's over here, right? One of these neighborhoods over here. Bate Wittenberg. Bate Wittenberg. I'm at the end of Bate Wittenberg, otherwise, But what's Bate Wittenberg? Who's this Wittenberg character? Let me tell you who this Wittenberg character was. This Wittenberg, Rav Shmuel Salant, one time, Yerushalayim Kodesh and the Gedaf the mikvah. There's still the mikvah. You can still use it till today. Right? And they needed a mikvah. So there was no money. Yerushalayim were aniyim merudim in their time and today also. Aniyim merudim and they got geld and they needed a mikvah. So Rav Shmuel Salant was a great chacham and the great Rav Yerushalayim. And he said, that's it. And he took his record and he said, I'm going to ask Wittenberg. I said it right. Wittenberg. I'm going to ask Wittenberg. So they said, Rebbe of Yerushalayim. They wouldn't say Sugar, but Rebbe of Yerushalayim, the Chacham, the Chakim of the Yudoi. You're going to ask Wittenberg. Everybody knows Wittenberg is the Kansin of Yerushalayim. He's got a lot of money, but there's a reason why. Because he doesn't let it, he's a Kansin. So you're going to go there and stop, make yourself foolish. He knows about the mikvah and he's not giving the mikvah. No. So what are you going? So he said, you don't understand. Kamsanis is like a machala. Just like a person can't cut off his finger, can't bring himself to cut off his finger. So he can't come to take out the money. It's a part of him. You have to help him. You have to save him from his machala. He feels like you can't cut off the money from him. You have to save it. I know he's talking about. He goes to this Wittenberg. He brings him in, Bekavet Gadol, brings him in, and he's not having him. He's going to ask for money because everybody knows I'm Wittenberg, the kaik. I'm not giving any money. So the Kitzer, he brings him in, and he says to him, we're building a mikvah, and I want to give you the schus of stelling the geld for the mikvah Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh. And the mikvah is mamish for Kedushas Yisrael. He gives him a whole Wittenberg has one gasha. He says, Rabbi shel Yerushalayim Chakim de Yudai. The Chacham from Yerushalayim. Ich bin Wittenberg. I'm Wittenberg the Kansin. I'm the guy that doesn't give money. I'm the guy. So what are you doing over here? You're a Chacham. I'm not going to give you any money. He says, I know you're not going to give money. But you're going to go to Shemayim in 120 years. And they're going to say to you, Wittenberg, why didn't you give money for the mikveh in Yerushalayim? And he's going to say, me, they didn't ask me for money. What do you want? And now you're not going to have that teretz. Wittenberg had such a pachad. No more excuses. Wittenberg told him, Rabbi shel Yerushalayim, Rav Shmuel Salant, go there. Here's the key. Take what you want. I can't look. So Shmuel Salant said, look, it's good for you. You'll get out of your machala. I can't look. And Rav Shmuel Salant went into the room and took out all the money for the mikvah. And slowly, he was cured from his terrible machala. And slowly started giving money to all the aniyim of Shalayim. And he built over here Bate Wittenberg on his name, which was for people that didn't have money to live in, for the aniyim of Yerushalayim to live in, and that Shragi Kallus can park his car. All right? Good Shabbos, Rabbi Say.
Rabbi. Can Rabbi here? Okay, good Shabbos, everyone.
I didn't even ask for money.
Anytime.
Shabbos, everybody say. I'll see you tomorrow. No games. 5 o'clock.
Shabbos.